Right now, on any summer afternoon, your attic is probably sitting somewhere around 150 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The air outside is 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 60 degrees hotter than outdoors, and all of that heat is pushing down through your ceiling into every room where your air conditioner is trying to hold 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Your air conditioner is not fighting the weather, it is fighting your attic, and it is losing. The fix can drop that temperature by 50 degrees or more. It is already half installed in most American homes. It just is not working. By the end of this, I will show you how to check yours in about 2 minutes. Here is what a broken attic is actually costing you. And I do not just mean the cooling bill. Your shingles are cooking from underneath, not from the sun, from the trapped heat below them. Roofing Contractor magazine polled contractors across the country and asked how much shingle life they see lost to bad attic ventilation. The average answer was 24%. Some reported up to 50% in extreme cases. On a roof that cost you $12,000, that is $3,000 or more of lifespan, you are never getting back. From a problem you cannot see from the ground. But here's the part that stopped me. Every major shingle manufacturer, GAF, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, Atlas, requires adequate attic ventilation as a condition of your warranty. It is written into the fine print. If your attic is not properly ventilated, the warranty was void the day the roof went on. You paid $12,000 for a roof with 30 years of coverage. You might have gotten zero. And the roofer who installed it may never have checked. When shingles fail early, when they curl, crack, or shed granules into the gutters, and the homeowner files a claim, the manufacturer sends an inspector. That inspector checks the attic. If the ventilation is inadequate, the claim is denied. You are on your own for the replacement. Now add the energy. Proper attic ventilation cuts cooling costs by 10 to 15%. On a house that spends a couple of $1,000s a year on cooling, that is a few $100s back every summer, year after year. Not dramatic, but compared to the roof damage, the energy savings are almost a footnote. The real cost is the roof you're replacing 5 years early and the warranty that will not cover it. So what is actually supposed to be happening up there? The system is dead simple. Cool outside air enters at the bottom of the roof through vents in the soffit, the underside of the eave that overhangs your exterior wall. That air rises along the underside of the roof deck, picking up heat as it goes. Hot air climbs. It exits through a ridge vent at the peak. If you look at the very top of your roof from outside, it is that thin raised strip running along the ridge line, and as hot air leaves through the top, it pulls cooler air in behind it at the bottom. A continuous loop. No fan, no electricity, no moving parts. The roof does the work all by itself. The Department of Energy calls the ridge and soffit combination the most effective attic ventilation system available. When it is working, your attic drops to within 10 to 15 degrees of the outside air. On a 95-degree day, that is 105 degrees instead of 160 degrees. A homeowner in Austin, Texas had their system balanced, ridge vent plus proper soffit intake, and their attic went from 140 degrees to 95 degrees, 45 degrees, from an air path that was already supposed to be there. So why is yours not doing that? Research shows that approximately half of all United States homes have evidence of improper ventilation. Half. And the most common failure is not a missing vent, it is a blocked one. Soffit vents choked by insulation. This is the big one. Blown-in insulation drifts toward the eaves over time. Batt insulation gets stuffed into the rafter bays by installers trying to maximize coverage. Sometimes rodents drag it there. Sometimes it just settles. However it happens, the result is the same. The intake is sealed shut and nobody knows. You have an exhaust at the top pulling air out, but nothing can get in at the bottom. It is like a chimney with the fireplace bricked over. The air sits there and cooks. and it gets worse. Sometimes the soffit vents were never real in the first place. Vinyl or aluminum soffit panels get installed over the original solid wood during a siding job. From the ground, you look up and see what looks like perforated venting. Push up on it with your hand and it hits a solid surface. Air was never flowing through. The vent was cosmetic. The house has been pretending to ventilate for years. Other times, the roofer installs a ridge vent along the peak, does a great job of it, but nobody checks whether the soffits are open, whether insulation is blocking the air path, or whether the house even has intake vents at all. The exhaust works. The intake does not exist. The ridge vent sits there doing nothing while the attic bakes. Here is what else trapped heat is doing. A typical family generates 2 to 4 gallons of moisture every day. Cooking, showers, breathing. That moisture rises. In a well-ventilated attic, it exits through the ridge with the hot air. In a sealed attic, it condenses on the underside of the roof deck. It soaks into the insulation. Wet fiberglass insulation can lose up to 80% of its R value. That is its ability to block heat from passing through. So the insulation you paid for is barely functioning because the ventilation system that would keep it dry is blocked by the insulation itself. It is a problem caused by the fix for a different problem running quietly in millions of attics right now. If your heating, ventilation, and air conditioning ducts run through the attic, and in a lot of homes they do, your air conditioner is pushing cold air through ductwork that is surrounded by heat at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The air warms up before it even reaches your rooms. You are paying to cool your attic instead of your house. And if you live anywhere it snows, there is one more problem. A warm attic melts the snow on your roof from underneath. That meltwater runs down to the eaves, which are cold because they hang past the heated envelope of the house. The water refreezes and builds into a ridge of ice. More water pools behind it, backs up under your shingles, and leaks into your ceiling. That is an ice dam. They cost hundreds to thousands of dollars in damage per event. And they start with the same blocked soffit vent. Now, here is where a lot of homeowners make the problem worse, trying to fix it. You notice your attic is hot. You Google it. The first result recommends a powered attic fan, an electric roof-mounted fan with a thermostat. You spend $200 to $400 on one. It pulls hot air out of the attic. Sounds logical. Here's what actually happens. The fan creates negative pressure in the attic. If the soffits are blocked, which in half of American homes they are, there is no outside air to pull in. So the fan pulls conditioned air up through every gap in your ceiling instead. Recessed lights, plumbing chases, the attic hatch. Your expensive, air-conditioned indoor air gets drawn into the attic and blown out through the roof. Your AC runs harder. Your bill goes up. The Department of Energy Building America program explicitly warns against powered attic fans in homes with inadequate intake ventilation. A study found they pulled an average of 231 cubic feet per minute of conditioned air out of the homes tested. That is not a small leak. That is your air conditioner working against itself. You spent $300 to make the problem worse. And the actual fix, clearing the insulation from the soffits, was free. All right, so why does your roofer not check any of this? The United States roofing contractor industry generates over $76 billion a year. The average roof replacement runs $10,000 to $20,000. The roofer's job is the surface. They strip the old shingles, inspect the decking, and lay the new ones. They install a ridge vent along the peak because the building code requires exhaust ventilation. But checking whether every rafter bay has a clear air path from the soffit to the open attic is not on the estimate, not in the scope, not part of the bid. The roofer who crawls through your attic checking every vent channel is the one whose quote comes in higher and who then loses the job to the one who did not. Both of them install perfectly good ridge vents. One of them just works. Nobody decided to skip this step. The step was never part of the job in the first place. The roofer is paid to put a roof on your house. Whether the attic underneath it can breathe is a different trade, a different skill set, and a line item nobody asked for because nobody knew to ask. Now let me show you what actually checking this looks like. It is simpler than you think. Pick a morning before the day heats up. You do not want to be crawling around an attic that is 160 degrees Fahrenheit at 2 in the afternoon. Wear gloves, long sleeves, and a dust mask if you have fiberglass insulation. That stuff itches. Grab a flashlight and get up there. You're looking toward the low point where the roof slope meets the top of the exterior wall. If you can see a gap between the insulation and the roof deck near the edges, maybe some daylight glowing through the soffit vents, air is getting in. That is good. Now look for the opposite. Insulation piled up against the roof deck all the way to the edge. No gap, no light. Pink or yellow fiberglass shoved right up against the underside of the roof, stuffing the space between the rafters completely. That is your problem, and you just found it. The fix is almost embarrassing. Put on your gloves, reach in, and pull the insulation back from the soffit openings. You are not ripping it out. You are just pulling it away from the eave 6 to 12 inches so there is a clear channel from the soffit vent up into the open attic. Work your way along the edge, rafter bay by rafter bay. You will feel the difference before you see it. As you clear each bay, you might notice air start to move past your hand. That is outside air entering the attic for the first time in however long the insulation has been sitting there. That is the $0 version. You are not installing anything. You are removing an obstruction. The system was already there, and you are letting it work. If you want to keep the insulation from drifting back over time, install rafter baffles. These are foam or plastic channels. You will find them in the insulation aisle. They look like long, shallow trays, about 2 feet long and the width of a rafter bay. Slide one into the space between each pair of rafters, right where the roof deck meets the soffit, and staple it in place. It holds a clear air path open and keeps insulation from creeping back into it. They cost about $1 to $2 each. A typical house needs 30 to 40 of them. Total, $30 to $80 and a few hours with a staple gun. Not glamorous work, but the kind of afternoon that pays you back every month for the rest of the time you own the house. Some homes are genuinely missing part of the system. No ridge vent, no soffit vents at all. If that is you, you need the other half installed. Ridge vent material runs $2 to $4 a linear foot. Adding one during a roof replacement, which costs $10,000 to $15,000 anyway, adds $300 to $650 to the job. That is pocket change on a major project. Soffit vents run $315 to $465 installed. When you get your next roofing quote, ask 2 questions. Is continuous ridge ventilation included? And has anyone verified that the soffit intake is actually clear? If the contractor looks at you like nobody has ever asked that before, that tells you everything. For under $1,000, you complete a system that cuts cooling costs by 10 to 15%, extends your shingle life by years, protects your warranty, keeps your insulation dry, and stops ice dams before they start. Or you clear the blockage yourself for nothing and get most of that back tomorrow. Here's what the difference feels like. That upstairs bedroom that was always 3 or 4 degrees warmer than the rest of the house. The one where the air conditioning never quite catches up in the afternoon. It evens out. The air conditioner that used to run in long grinding cycles all day starts cycling shorter. You stop hearing it. The house gets quiet in a way you did not realize it was not. Your next electricity bill comes in and the number is lower. Maybe $20, maybe $40. Not life-changing by itself, but the roof that was supposed to last 30 years might actually last 30 years now. And the warranty you paid for is real. Think about what was happening above your ceiling this whole time. A surface the size of your entire house, baking at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, radiating heat downward through your insulation into every room below, while your air conditioner ran and ran, trying to hold 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And less than a foot away from that insulation, there was a vent opening designed to let that heat escape. It had been there since the house was built. It just could not do its job because something was sitting on top of it. The most expensive surface on your house is being slowly destroyed by heat that a clear air channel would remove. And the shingle manufacturer who sold you a 30-year warranty will point at that blocked vent and say it is not their problem. The fix is in your attic. It has been in your attic this whole time. If that is the kind of thing worth knowing, subscribe. There is more coming.